Hello, aloha, Jen here. I was just journaling in the park and I thought up 6 different lessons from my first triathlon. That was about 2 weeks ago on November 26th, 2022. It was a Saturday. And I thought of 3 surprises that I wasn't expecting that I cannot wait to share with you. As a quick disclaimer, this is my first triathlon. I am not a pro at all. This is just some lessons from me, my perspective. Take it all with a grain of salt. Adapt it to what you know about yourself because you are an expert in your own life experiences and knowing who you are and what would best fit for you. Okay, the first lesson from my first triathlon is to lean on your friends. I'm speaking specifically about 3 different types of friends. There's a friend who has done the triathlon before. There's a friend who can come to cheer you on the day of the race to hold you accountable, to show up and make you less nervous. And then there's the friend who can be your accountability training partner. I'm fortunate that I had these 3 friends. My older brother has done a few Ironmans, and I have this other friend as well who's done an Ironman. They were really like my infinite Google machine where I could, of course, Google things, but whenever I was nervous, I could call, text, reach out to them, and they helped the fear, the clouds of fear, and like the imposter that I wasn't good enough to do a triathlon kind of fade away and go to the wayside. The second type of friend, of having a friend there to cheer you on. For my first half marathon last November at the end of the world on Big Island in Hawaii, the only reason I signed up was because I had a friend who I got scuba certified with that told me she'd fly to the island and cheer me on. And I was way too afraid to do that first race without her there and knowing that someone else was going to be there to help make the fear less daunting. And that third friend is the accountability partner. I'm thankful that my friend Carter Ann that I trained with, she's on island with me. So she was here to tag along with, check in on how we're feeling, how our plans are going in person. But I've also in the past, when I was training for my first half marathon in 2020, when I lived in Chicago, I had a virtual accountability buddy who lived in Florida. And we would just check in every day with how our runs were going and how we were feeling. And it's totally okay to have an accountability partner for your fitness who is not beside you in real life. So those are the 3 friends I would recommend you have to do your first triathlon. The second lesson I've learned is to see this as an experience, not a race. My brother, he's very wise. He told me this. It really took the pressure off of me because I have no baseline of what to expect to run that 5K race, to bike the 20 kilometers, to swim the 400 meters. Yeah, this was a sprint triathlon, so I didn't want to go in too big. I just wanted to see it as a small experiment and experience it. So just that little tweak of mindset of switching the word from a race to an experience allows me to not feel like I need to succeed and that there's no failure in it. The third lesson I learned is to borrow gear. This triathlon hobby, it's really not cheap. Made a list of everything that I spent. It's really easy to feel like you're digging yourself into a hole, kind of like a college degree where freshman year you're like, I'm going to become a doctor or a banker. And you end up learning more about it and you're like, why did I make that decision? Why did I commit to this identity when it's something I don't really want to be after all, after you're a year or 2 in. So the same goes for being a triathlete. If it's your first time, like it was for me, dip a toe in and don't invest all this money into everything. And I thankfully have community here in Honolulu. I ended up borrowing my friend Scott's bike, who he's actually injured, so he can't ride his bike. And I borrowed my friend Jenna's helmet. I did end up spending, in my bottom line of what I spent, was $170 to get admittance into the race. So they're not cheap to even just sign up for the race. It was $100 for me to buy these cycling Velcro shoes. It's $100 for me to buy new pedals, tape, and cleats for my cycling shoes. And then I spent $50 on a tri-suit just for feeling race ready and just that placebo effect of feeling like it's a race suit and I'm ready to go. Even though, like I said in the previous lesson, this is an experience, not a race. The fourth lesson is to be flexible with your training. I really wanted to be regimented, but I ended up realizing that 4 weeks before the race, I got hit by a car lightly while road biking and really wasn't comfortable with it, and that was my weakness. So I ended up training with Carter Ann on the Pearl Harbor and Hickam Harbor base where there's no lights and there's a bike lane and it's a lot safer to bike. So I ended up focusing more on my biking because I realized that was, of the three sports involved in the triathlon, the trickiest, my weakest link. And I did it with my friend. Carter Ann is also terrified of the ocean, thinks she's going to be stung or eaten by a shark. She also got stung by a jellyfish during the race. She survived. She's a great friend. Full trooper. But anyways, yeah, just being really flexible and listening to yourself. If you know you want to train like 5 to 7 days of the week, I ended up walking if I wasn't feeling up to running. If I was too afraid to bike by myself, I waited till my friend was available. And swimming is my favorite, my strongest. I actually ranked fifth out of all the women in the race. There were only 100 people. I don't know how many women there were, but swimming was definitely my favorite strength part of the race. So when I say be flexible in your training, I couldn't just swim the whole time because that was my strength and I loved it. But if I really was feeling down in the dumps, like after riding my bike and not having a great day, I could reward myself with swimming the next day because that's one of the three sports in the race that I enjoy the most. The fifth lesson, create the worst case scenario. So I really had this mindset going into the triathlon that I am not a sprinter, and figured that by the time I get to the running part that I would have absolutely no energy left and would need to either drop out or I don't really know. But I came up with this worst case scenario that when I'm really focusing in the zone, not planning ahead for the next event, like when the swimming, I was completely in the swimming. When I was in the biking, I was completely in the biking. And then when I got to the running, I was like, whatever gas I have left in the tank, I'm just going to gun it and go for it. And whatever happens, happens. In worst case scenario, I'm going to walk and it's going to be okay because I'm just here to have fun. That is the sixth lesson that I reflected on, that I just really was there to have fun. There was, I wish I got her name right before the experience started, but she said to me, her advice was just to have as much fun as you can to want to do another triathlon again. So that was really, really great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This brings me to the three surprises that I reflected on. So the first surprise was that everyone there is from so many different walks of life. There were youths who were like 10 to 15 years old who were just so energetic and ready to go, and they did a shortened distance than the adult version. But there were also older folks who were in their 50s, 60s, 70s probably, and there were people who were really tall, people who were shorter, people very fit, some who are not super fit. And I mean, to be fit is very objective. It's really internal with how you feel and the narrative you have going on inside of your head. That was really cool to just be around all of these individuals who were all celebrating their fitness, and we're all doing it together, and we're all there for different goals and different definitions of what success is. And my definition of success was to have fun, and it definitely felt like I succeeded. So the second surprise that I witnessed is I am a sprinter. I never had really thought over the last 10 years since I left high school swimming that I still had it in me to be a sprinter, and I really smashed that story to smithereens when I was swimming, and I was just like, whoa, like this is so much fun, and biking was so much fun, and even the running, which I was dreading, that was pretty fun because I was already 2/3 of the way done and just like gunned it for whatever was left and got my fastest 5K pace, like right at 30 minutes. So yeah, that was it. And then my third last surprise was that in keeping an open mind of not really knowing what would happen from this, it's really opened the door to a lot of possibilities. And now, after reflecting on the last 2 weeks, I've been thinking about New Year intentions and how I can commit to my fitness in the new year. And that includes me wanting to sign up for the Honolulu sprint, or actually the Olympic distance triathlon in May 2023. So I didn't want to force myself into doing that. I still haven't fully pulled the trigger and signed up, but I definitely have full intention to, because actually I need to just sign up. I really just know I want to do it because it was just such a cool event. It challenged me mentally, it challenged me physically. I'm not as afraid of it now. Before, I was really afraid to drop out and quit. And then with those friends alongside me, recognizing I can trust myself in all the training I did, even though I honestly didn't do that much training, because for sprinting, it's more about, honestly, I'm not the best person to ask for that. I still don't really know. But it was just showing up every day and committing something to fitness and doing some sort of cardio. Yeah, so those are my 6 reflections and lessons from my first triathlon, and those are 3 surprises. I can't wait to do another one. It was just such a hoot, and I'm hollering at my future self because I cannot wait to dive straight in. Okay, mahalo and toodaloo.